It is, of course, Wednesday, the 20th of August. I mean, what a day to be alive, right? We're going to sit here and celebrate pretty much through the morning, all about how and why the British public, the great British public, finally woke up. I said to Jeremy Kyle yesterday on his show, the woke have actually awoken. And so forget about the old word for woke, Theo. This is now the new word for woke. The new woke is actually great because people have been sick to death, have been dictated to by various governments, being told that they have to put up with things, being told that they got no say. And guess what? You're just going to have a load of migrants living at the end of your street and we're not going to let you do anything about it. So finally now, you know, the beast has arisen, the lion has woken up, and we're saying, no, enough already. You know, shut the bleeding place down, kick these people out, and then we'll start again. And if you're lucky, you might even have a chance of winning an election. But if you don't do it, and if you keep messing with us and you keep pushing and saying we have to look after these people, they're very vulnerable, you know, we are going to revolt. And that's what's happened. This has been a people's revolt, and it's been an incredible victory. Yeah,
and it's come from the parents and the community in Epping that have put pressure on. I don't think the council needed a huge amount of pressure, but they've successfully, you know, they've made their strength of feeling known. The council, obviously, if there was any dissent, certainly wasn't going to, you know, realise the strength of feeling in the community, and they've put in a challenge, and they've argued successfully. And they've done it well. And you know, the problem for the government now is where does it go from here?
And they're literally running around, I bet you any money this morning, like chickens with their heads cut off. Yeah. Because Yvette Cooper, as we said, still hasn't given us an update. Here's an update for you, Yvette. You've got completely strangulated, your policies have been rubbished, and your entire kind of plan has been torn up and thrown in the river.
They've got to
what are you going to do now?
They've got to start, they're not thinking outside the box, and they're not prepared to think. They're just thinking in sort of home office sort of straight lines. This is what we do. These are the rules that we've got to follow. You know, that's ultimately
that's why gone. That's
why. But that's why they abandoned. We're not. It's really important to understand. Like the government keep on saying we inherited this mess from the Tories. Right?
No.
They did to an extent, but not completely.
No. But like I said, the Tories shut the Bell Hotel down and said no more migrants there. Labour reopened it.
But we're up 48%. January to July 2025 is up 40% on January to July 2024.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to surpass 50,000.
So there's more people coming.
More people coming. Yeah. We are going to surpass 50,000 for the first time this year. Look, they didn't. The problem for Rishi Sunak is he hyped it up with this slogan, "Stop the boats." He didn't stop the boats, but he did reduce the number of migrants crossing the English Channel down from 46,000 to 29,000. Now, I'm not saying
they actually did reduce it, which is worth mentioning.
He brought the numbers down, and one of the reasons that the numbers came down wasn't necessarily credit to Rishi Sunak; it was credit to Boris Johnson, who came up with the Rwanda scheme. And actually, that was something where people were like, "Oh, hold on a minute, no." Now, of course, it never materialised because he wasn't willing.
But Labour killed it. You know, they didn't give it a chance to go. Didn't give it a chance. We've got to move on because we've got lots to get on with in this particular hour. We've got loads of great messages coming in. Thank you very much for all of them. We'll get to them in a moment. I've been asked to point out that the tweet from Starmer about the people smuggling video, the people smuggling gangs, I got it wrong. Apparently, they haven't arrested and convicted one person. It's two people. Have a look. I thought it was the same bloke. And they played his... Some people walking up some stairs. Some people walking around bags. There you go. Apparently there's these guys, two different people apparently. Looks like the same guy to me, I don't know. They all look alike, these people smuggling gang guns people. Let's have a look at what Keir Starmer did when he went on his little trip to Washington, though, because this is funny. This was him on the plane heading out to the Washington Capitol.
This war in Ukraine has been going on a really long time now. I mean, 3+ years. Hugely impacted the Ukrainians who suffered hugely, but it's also impacted Europe. It's impacted every single family and community in the United Kingdom. And so everybody wants it to end, not least the Ukrainians. But we've got to get this right. We've got to make sure there is peace, that it is lasting peace, and that it is fair and that it is just. And that's why I'm travelling to Washington with other European leaders to discuss this face to face with President Trump and President Zelensky, because it's in everyone's interests, it's in the UK's interests that we get this right.
And so he went out to Washington, D.C.,
Air
right?
Force One, it's not.
No. And that's exactly what he said in front of Trump, which is really boring. And here's what he said after he met with Trump. And by the way, they put out a picture of the White House, which didn't include Starmer in it. They cropped him out of it. That's how unimportant he was. He was off to the left. Here's what he said in the embassy of the United Kingdom in Washington afterwards.
So back at the British Embassy now after a long day, but a good day and a productive day, because both of the outcomes that we, the United Kingdom, most wanted, we've moved forward in a material way. That's why it was an outcome we really wanted to achieve today. The second is that there will now be a bilateral meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky after a phone call by President Trump during the course of this afternoon to President Putin, followed by a trilateral meeting with President Trump as well. Now, these were both the outcomes that we planned for and wanted from today. Because there was that sense of unity, we're able to make real progress.
So he made real progress by getting on a plane, flying to Washington, being told by Donald Trump, I've set up a meeting with Vladimir Putin, which I've already had. I'm also setting up a meeting between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, which they're about to have. And then I'm going to have another meeting with Vladimir Putin and Zelensky. So this is somehow an achievement for Keir Starmer. How exactly? What exactly has his contribution been? Nothing.
No, and just like...
What's he even doing there?
Nobody speaks like that.
Captain Cold Sore.
Nobody speaks like that. If you have an argument with your wife and then you make it better, you say, well, I've just been speaking to my wife.
Yeah.
And we've got the outcome that we were after.
Yes.
We've agreed that actually I do have to put the bins out on a Wednesday.
And I am actually a complete and utter 24-carat...
But this only has come about after my wife and I had a bilateral meeting at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And then we invited our son in because we wanted to make it a trilateral meeting. But we did reach the desired outcome.
Yeah.
Where
You sound eerily like Keir Starmer. In fact, the only difference is that he's not even talking about his own wife. He's actually talking about somebody else's wife and somebody else's agreement. Because it's not even about him.
No.
He's got nothing to do with any of this.
But
And why does he even try and claim some kind of like ownership of it? You know, what happened between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump? Nothing to do with Starmer.
Yeah.
The fact that there was now a meeting set up between Putin and Zelensky, nothing to do with Starmer. The fact that there's now going to be a meeting between Trump and Putin and Zelensky, also nothing to do with Starmer. I mean, he's literally like a fart in the wind. He might as well not be there. Sorry. And just for Daily Express's express permission, that doesn't mean I'm apologising for what I just said. Idiots.
yeah, he's struggling for relevance. Yeah.
He's not relevant. He's not struggling for relevance, and you put it very well, and you're much kinder than I am. He's not relevant. He doesn't need to be in the room. As I said, they put out a picture from the Oval Office, and he wasn't even in it.
No.
And the Finnish Prime Minister, you know, Mr. Grubb, or whatever his name is, I mean, even he was in the picture. Nobody's ever heard of him.
He plays golf with him.
Does he?
He plays golf with Trump, yeah.
Well, does he?
So,
Oh, okay.
That's why that's what
And also Finland is quite a relevant country because it's actually borders Russia. You know, we don't have a border with Russia. Keir Starmer told us, several weeks ago that we were on a war footing and that we're being attacked by Russia every day. That's what he said.
Yeah, so I think... it's difficult to defend. I think what he's trying to make...
Say that again.
He went over there to stand by Zelensky, and at the same time, he doesn't want to be seen to be like being Zelensky's pal because he doesn't want to irritate Donald Trump and get in the way of his deal.
Yeah, I didn't see any big hugs going on like the word Downing Street.
He just becomes a commentator on events, and a prime minister or any president or prime minister isn't there to commentate on events. They are the event, except he's not the event because the deal's already been done between Trump.
But when we played the clip yesterday of him sitting at the table with Trump, and he literally made the same speech that he just made on the plane on the way out. Yeah. Saying, you know, it's very important that we go forward and we find, common ground. Nobody cares what he says.
He's an analogue. And this is part of his problem with his delivery. He's an analogue prime minister, and we're operating in an age of artificial intelligence. It's not working.
Well, the only thing
whoever
that's
came
good
up with that
about that is that he's artificial. That's the trouble. He comes across as artificial.
It doesn't come across as
genuine.
It's human, no.
All genuine.
No.
You know, and we know that he changed his mind. I think we've got the war footing one, have we? Should we have a look at that crisis hits? Here we go.
And today, following through on this review, I want to set out 3 fundamental changes that we're going to deliver. First, we are moving to warfighting readiness as the central purpose of our armed forces. When we are being directly threatened by states with advanced military forces, the most effective way to deter them is to be ready. And frankly, to show them that we're ready.
Ready for what exactly?
Yeah, I saw.
They said he was ready for government, which wasn't true either.
Yeah, but I saw the. I mean, that speech is going to ring. That speech is going to ring hollow. Look, we're talking about the migrant crisis. You know, I saw the Mac cartoon on the front page of the Telegraph.
Yeah.
Do you see that one? Whereas, you know, we've got these. We're going to see off the. We're going to see off Putin with our nuclear jets.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to drop tactical nuclear weapons. And you know, somebody puts their hand up and says, well, you know, what happens if they arrive on small boats?
Right.
You know, the Russians invade on small boats.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do then?
We're a laughing stock around the world. We can't stop people coming into the country. How the hell are we going to put ourselves on a war footing with anyone?
But that's some, you know, that is everything that encapsulates this government at the moment, is that he talks this game of national security, of seeing off Vladimir Putin, but everybody can see we've got a problem.
Yeah.
So why continue to talk about something else? Like, people aren't stupid.
No.
They're not. They can see what's going on. They listen to the radio. They can read their newspaper, whether it be the Times or the Sun, and everybody can see exactly what's happening. You don't need to pretend to them that for some reason actually it's all different because you're going to invest billions and billions of pounds in a different nuclear deterrent.
No, it doesn't matter. Let's get a quick voice note because we're running terribly late and I'm going to get in terrible trouble. This is Dale on hotels.
Good morning, Mike. Dale from Bexley here. Is it a win for us, though, this migrant hotel being closed down? Because you know what's going to happen? They're going to go into houses. They're going to be spread all around the area into houses now. So every migrant hotel that gets shut down, they go into a house.
Yeah, but that may or may not be the plan. I think they will be under severe pressure, this government, to not do that because they now know that they're under scrutiny. Let's not forget, one of the things that they've been doing for the best part of the last 5 years, and I include the Conservatives in this, is they've been doing it by stealth. They haven't been telling anyone. Now, there's an awful lot of people watching. There's an awful lot of eyes on them. And if they try and do anything which the public don't like and the public don't want, the public will revolt. And I think that's where they've got a problem. But it's coming up to 6:42. We'll be back, myself and Theo Usherwood, after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 6:43. I'm here with Theo Usherwood. We've got so many messages. Let me start reading some of them. This is how it goes, says Russ in Bedfordshire. See how quick Labour can change a law now. Wait for the change in a planning law in the next 14 days. Well, yeah, but you say that. But the trouble is, we're onto them now. And everybody knows what they're up to. Simon from Durham. While it's a success about the hotel in Epping, the fact is that if the hotel's closed, these men will be within our communities, posing, in my opinion, a much higher risk. Very possibly. Joanna from Salisbury. Mike, you just wait. Starmer and Harmer will now seek the change of law to override the closing of hotels. You know, yes, I'm sure that all of you have got a very cynical view about all of this, but actually, I think that they've been rumbled, Theo, and this is kind of my point, because we've now, you know, they can't now do it in the middle of the night. Do you remember when they moved all these migrants into the Britannia Hotel and a bus arrived at 1 o'clock in the morning, and because of the fact that there was a couple of citizen journalists knocking around, they actually filmed it and saw these guys getting out of the coach. They can't do anything now in sort of in silence. They can't do it behind closed doors. They can't do it and pretend that they're not doing it. That's what I think is now, the scrutiny is now going to be on them, and I think that's the beginning of the end for them.
I think they're going to be, they're in real trouble with this because, and your correspondent, was it Dale, who messaged in, yes, they're going to put people into houses of multiple occupancy, and they're doing that on the QT. They're not even telling councils. I think we were talking about an example down in Portsmouth? Yes. Where there are 22... 22.
We had a councillor on yesterday, 22 houses he's discovered, put in by taken over by the Home Office, where they're moving migrants in and not telling anyone.
And they haven't even told the council.
No.
I mean, that's disgraceful.
It is.
That's disgraceful because that's really unfair on the community because you end up in a situation where where people aren't being told, and if there is a threat, they don't know that exists. That's bad.
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
bad. Well,
bad.
it's criminal, actually, is what it
it's
is.
Really bad.
Let's do a few more of these. Morning, Mike. What sweet joy, says Nan in Wales. Remember they said the grown-ups are back in charge? Well, it's time to get the kids back. This lot are Epping useless. I see what you did there. Mike, surely all these hotel owners have a signed 4 or 5 year government contract, which they will then fully expect to be paid up from as well, says Herne Bay Mike. Yeah, they might well do. But the game is up, I think, is the bottom line. Keith in Lincolnshire says, hi, Mike and Theo. How long will it be before Starmer and his lefty lawyers bring in a bill to overturn the High Court judgment on hotels? Well, I bet you they're looking at that. But again, if they do that, that will make them even more unpopular.
If they wouldn't change the law, they could go to Parliament and vote for it.
They could. But the problem is that now they won't get any support, and I know that they've got their own situation going on with backbenchers and all the rest of it. Jeremy in Exeter says this: while I'm over the moon about the ruling in Epping, my concern is where these illegals will go now. Our next battle should be to keep them out of our communities and to demand through FOIs where they are being moved to. They are likely to be moved into HMOs and to disappear into the system. I'm sure this government will then try to claim they have solved the problem. I shudder to think what could happen with these people being housed in residential areas where women and children will be at even more risk. It's too much to hope for that they'll be deported. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying is that the focus is now on the government. The focus is on the Home Office, and you know, like all things, when newspapers get riled up, you know, they'll all be on this. You know, the Sun, the Times, Telegraph, they'll all be absolutely on this. You know, like flies.
You've also mentioned
moths to a flame.
You also mentioned citizen journalists, and I think that's a really important element in this thing. Is that especially with the use of social media. Everybody's got a smartphone.
Yeah.
It doesn't take, you know, you can't expect this. You know, you can't expect any newspaper to push a reporter outside the Britannia Hotel 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But if there's
somebody there,
if there's somebody there with a phone, there at 1 o'clock in the morning filming it, then you know we know which which counts to follow.
Now there's a couple of other stories that we need to talk about as well. Not least Rachel Reeves, which is going to come up. You know, she's under fire over the borrowing figures now, which are absolutely going through the roof. The rate of guilt now is way higher than it was under Liz Truss, and also she's plotting a sort of mansion tax, and people are suggesting that she might ruin the housing market. But also, just off to the side, let's have a look at the Sun front page, because Noel Gallagher is there. He did an interview yesterday on talkSPORT, in which he talks about how proud he was of his brother Liam. It looks as if their feud has finally been buried once and for all. So there's great hope out there for any of you who've had a long-running feud with any member of your family. The Gallaghers have finally sorted it out. Have a listen to this.
Just going back to the gigs you've done, there was that moment at the end of the first gig where, as it all finished, you and Liam were walking off, and you gave each other a little hug. How emotional was that for you? Because it looked pretty emotional.
We're not those kind of guys, really. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of it's great just to be back with Bonehead and Liam, and you know, just be doing it again. I guess when it's all said and done, we'll sit and reflect on it. But it's great being back in the band with Liam. I forgot how funny he was, and
also his voice. Everyone has said, "Oh my God, his voice is unbelievable." And it is.
It's AI.
But do you know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking, right, the next time I'm going to speak to you, I'm going to ask you this question, because everyone is saying Liam's voice is amazing, but your voice is pretty amazing still as well, right? No one's mentioning that.
Well, you know, that doesn't. I'm the songwriter. You know what I mean? I'm not really a singer, to be honest. But Liam's smashing it. He's. I'm proud of him. You know, he's kind of. Having been a song front in a band for 16 years, I know how difficult that is. You know what I mean? And I know, and I couldn't do the stadium thing like he does it. It's not in my nature. But I've got to say, man, I kind of look at him and I think, you know, good for you, mate. You know, he's been amazing.
Isn't that great?
Touching interview.
It's a happy story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so nice. And also, isn't it great when you see these incredible rock stars? And I've seen it many times with some of them. I remember having, this is going to sound a bit pompous, but I had a conversation with The Edge once, you know. And where somebody like Noel Gallagher goes, I'm not really a singer. And you go, mate, you're in Oasis. You know, you've written songs and sung them to millions of people. Yeah. But he goes, I'm not really a singer. And if only politicians would follow that mantra. You know, Keir Starmer, I'm not really a politician. I'm not really much, you know, I'm not really good at that.
He's lived up, I mean, it's lived up to all the hype, hasn't it? The concert's been
extraordinary. I mean, I was listening, I mean, I had my good friend Donald McLeod down here last week, and he was telling me that they did 3 concerts at Murrayfield in Edinburgh, and each night the take at the bar was £2 million. I mean, I'm not, you know, talk about a boost to the economy, though. You know, 2 million, so £6 million was the take at the bar. 3 nights at Murrayfield.
And
brilliant for the economy.
I think
it's one of our greatest exports as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they tap into something which is sort of, it's not just about the band, but it's about sort of, we don't have rock and roll stars anymore. We don't, you know, the likes of Oasis, we just don't have.
Well, Noel said in another interview that, you know, they were the last sort of proper rock and roll band before the internet came along, and you couldn't live stream their music. You had to buy it. You literally had to buy the CD, or you had to buy the vinyl, you know. And now nobody does that anymore.
But nobody, there aren't many people. I'm struggling to think of a band, a rock and roll band, not a pop group, not a singer that you could think of people like Taylor Swift or Beatles or whatever, but an actual band that you can go and see that can sell out the largest stadiums in the country multiple times over. I don't think you can. I think people want to go back, not just to see Oasis, but they almost want to go back in time
to remember their lives in the 90s,
because they're a bit better. You know, we had a community where we had people. You know, you could go and see a band.
Didn't have any migrants. Okay. I mean, we didn't. Sorry. I mean, you know, people will go, oh, it's all like that. We didn't have any. The country was a different place.
Yeah, very different.
You didn't walk down the street and see blokes from Eritrea waving machetes at each other. You know, and that's what we have now. Anyway, listen, it's 6:52. I'll be back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 5 minutes to 7. The time is flying. I mean, we're out looking at the visage out the window there. It's not looking particularly good, is it? It's been a great week so far in terms of sunshine. Let's get a voice note from Sue, though.
Morning, Mike. Sue from Farnham here. Absolutely brilliant about Epping. Someone's actually listening. And now, I know I say it all the time, you put them in army tents in a field. Next stop, the ferry. Back to France. Bye.
Yeah, I think it's not difficult, is it? We'll be talking coming up in the next hour to Stephen Barrett, who is, of course, a barrister and writer, and we'll get his view on the legal situation. But as far as it looks at the moment, the hotels are done and dusted. They're going to have to all shut down and get rid of all the migrants. The question is, where does everybody else go? Let's talk, though, just before we hit the top of the hour, Theo, about the other big political story this morning, and that's all about Rachel Reeves. Page 2 of the Daily Mail has got a story, because this has been highlighted for the last couple of days. The cost of borrowing now in this country has reached ridiculous levels. You know, the 30-year UK gilt yield is 5.6% now under Rachel Reeves, which is higher than it was under Liz Truss, which when it reached 5.1%, which apparently caused not only a run on the pound, but the sort of collapso of the city and its confidence in the government. So how is it possible that this is worse than Liz Truss, and yet nobody's really talking about it?
Well, they should be talking about it, because this is money, this is taxpayers' money, which is now being used to pay the public debt.
Yeah.
You know, Rachel Reeves put up taxes in the autumn, and by, you know, at the end of October, by December, 1 in every £4 of that money was just paying the debt interest.
It's been a disaster, hasn't it?
It's been an absolute disaster, and it's getting worse.
And she's borrowing more and more money.
And the reason it's getting worse, the reason these gilt yields are going up, is because the money men and money women and algorithms over in the City of London, in the Square Mile, and in other financial markets around the world, where people buy up debt, sovereign debt from countries, look at the UK and they think it's a basket case. They think, actually, I need to charge a higher interest rate because I'm not sure I'm going to get my money back.
Yeah.
That's why so now we're at a stage where it's at a 27-year high, and that's costing us money. And it means that Rachel Reeves,
we're now borrowing something like 20 to 25 billion a month. Right, just to keep going. And the black hole now is apparently 50 billion.
And that's going to need to be filled. And that's going to need to be filled. And that's why Rachel Reeves, and we've got reports in the Times, we have reports in the Guardian that she wants to put up taxes on
property, basically, like
but
a mansion tax.
high value property.
Yeah.
It's a wealth tax.
Yeah.
But of course, that's not going to raise any money because all people will do is they'll just stay in their home. They just won't sell their house.
Right. And so people in the Sun, there's a story in the Sun saying she's basically going to kill off the housing market.
Yeah, of course she is.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, is there anything they can do right this lot?
If you bought a house for £5, and this is on primary residence, so there's always been capital gains on second homes.
Yeah.
But if you had a house that you bought 30 years ago, let's say a house in London you bought for 30 years ago for 200,000, and it's now worth 800,000, that would be what, a tax 24% on 600,000 that you would have to pay. You just stay put.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't move.
Well, Sarah Vine's in the Mail today saying, I hate having to rent my property, but now Rachel Reeves is coming for our homes, and why would I ever bother buying one?
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say that. They'll go, well, I don't want to hand, hundreds of thousands of pounds to anyone, or even like £50,000 to the government. Why would you bother?
And then you've got the person who's paying stamp duty who's trying to buy your home.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't, it would just absolutely kill the whole thing.
And it just shows you, doesn't it, that their fiscal policy is completely, unrealistic, because every single tax that they've tried to put on actually has backfired. They haven't collected any more money from the VAT on private schools. They haven't collected any more money from the farmers. They haven't collected any more money from the non-doms. They've collected no more money really from a lot of businesses on and national insurance.
And they're just not taking people on. Businesses just not taking people on.
Sacking people, it's unbelievable. Theo, listen, great to see you. It's a bit one-track minded this morning because the Migrant Hotel story is so massive.